Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. I'm playing one of my favorite songs right now. And in the very beginning of the song, it says, everything is falling into place. How in the world does it get any better than that, people? We'll turn the music off, even though it might be fun to have a dance party one of these days. Just dance our way through a live stream. How fun would that be? So, hello, everybody. Hi. I'm so excited. I haven't done one of these in a few weeks, and I love presenting this information. I freaking love it. It totally lights me up. My body was getting so excited as I was preparing for this and putting all this information together. And this live stream is going to be a little bit different than the other live streams. If you've been on my live streams before, I've got a little bit different content today. So I'm super excited about that. And I know a lot of you are already playing with me in the Crazy Possible Year. So welcome, and hopefully this is a contribution to you as well. If you are not familiar with me at all, and you're brand new, welcome. I'm super excited you're here. And I hope today is valuable for you and fun for you. So look at this. We have New Zealand. We have God, you're so welcome. I mean, how could I do a live stream all by myself? It's like you guys that make it happen. And then I get to say stuff and it impacts you. And then you guys go out and create your amazing, crazy possible lives. And then the whole world gets affected by it. So how in the world does it get better than that? So hi, Mabel. Hi, Karen. Hi, Drinka. Julie and Sakshi. That's such a fun name to say. Is the sound on? Is my sound on? Can somebody tell me if you can hear me? It looks like you can. Pramuda, Tachaya, everything is coming into place. How does it get better? And hello, everybody else. There's so many on here. Hello. So if you don't know me yet, I'm Cory Michelle. I now live in Australia. I used to live in Denver and San Diego. It's been too long. Yes, my long lost consciousness unicorn buddy. Absolutely, we can hear. Okay, awesome. We're all good. You never know, because I'm sitting here in a room, my house, right? And I can see the ocean right over there. The beach is right over there. And you never know if it's actually working until somebody says, hey, it's actually working. So anyway, I moved to Australia. God, I guess it's been like 6 months ago or so. 6 months ago. And fulfilling on a crazy possible dream, one that I always knew was a possibility and that I would really love and have actualized it for myself. So I am here in Australia and loving every minute of it. I will say that if you haven't been on any of my live web classes recently, since I've been here, or you're brand new, the internet is kind of shoddy. So if I go away, I will be right back, okay? Sometimes that happens. And what would it take for this technology to work out perfectly today, okay? Hi from South Carolina. I'm going to be coming to South Carolina. By the way, I'll be there. Maybe, hey, if anybody wants to have a little crazy possible party in South Carolina, let's do that, Charlotte. I'm actually going to be going to Charleston for the Access Consciousness Choice of Possibilities with Gary Douglas coming up in August. Yeah, it's in August. Okay, cool. Total side note. Okay, so couple of things. I'll just get me out of the way. What we're going to talk about today is ask and you shall receive. We're going to be talking about the magic of the ask. Asking is essential. If you would like to have magic in your life, if you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to likely have the magic. Now, there's asking, there's being, there's a whole bunch of different elements to it, way more than we can cover today. And I'll be totally straight with you about that. I teach about this all day long for days and days and days on end. And I even have a year-long program where we basically assist people in having ask and you shall receive as a way of life, right? So I'm going to give you some key pointers today, 3 main ones, and hopefully they'll contribute to you actually going out and implementing something or some of them. And what's really cool, hello from Norway. Oh, yay, Beaufort is so close to Charleston. Awesome. So maybe we'll do a crazy possible party out there. How fun would that be? Okay, so these tools that I'm going to give you today are practical. They're pragmatic. You can actually go use them right away. Now, I know some of you already know some of these tools, so hopefully you'll learn something new today in the application of them, because I'm big on facilitating the tools, the magic, and the application, okay? Because you can go and take a piece of information and not really know how to use it or forget about it. So today is really going to be about, okay, here's some tools, here's how they work for, in these particular ways, and then here's how you can actually implement them into your life. So you don't just leave going, well, that was nice. I want you to leave and have some magic in your life. Is that cool? Who wants some magic? Oh, we have Switzerland. We have pen poised over paper. I love it. All right, here's my little koala mug from Brisbane that I got the other day. Or I think it's Brisbane. Yeah, it says Brisbane on it. Okay, so I'm an access consciousness facilitator. I have been for 7 years. I've been using these tools. And, if you don't know my story yet, I've pretty much changed every area of my life and continue to do so. Why? Because it's fun for me. Because once you shift one thing, if you're a unicorn, right? And I'll tell you what a unicorn is in a minute. So Truth, are you a unicorn? Maybe, maybe not. If you are, one of the qualities that we have is that we're never satisfied. Ever. We always want more. And this is like a curse and a blessing at the same time. And when you have tools and the awareness that it's not wrong to keep wanting more, that you'll likely never be satisfied in your life, then you can actually use it to your advantage to continue to be in the adventure of living, continuing to create and create and create and create and create beyond. Okay, so how in the world does it get better than that? I'm going to record this on the side just in case we have anything go down. Okay, so are you a unicorn? Now, what is a unicorn? I talk about unicorns a lot. And I actually had this awareness a couple of years ago. It was like, I just want to facilitate unicorns and magic, because I was doing a lot of business facilitation. I'm an intuitive business coach, and I've done a lot of other things. And I was like, I don't want to teach people how to make a web page, and I don't want to teach people, how to build their business necessarily the traditional way of here's your business model and that all felt super heavy to me. It wasn't inspiring. But what was inspiring was, what if I could actually facilitate magical unicorns in having magic in their life? Because when you have that space of who you truly are, that magic space, and if you know that, the rest of it all just shows up. Like, that's easy. But if you're magical and you aren't acknowledging it, or you don't have the tools to be magical, and you're trying to do life like everybody else, then it doesn't really work. It's hard. It's frustrating. A lot of times we lack money, or we create problems in our bodies or our relationships, and life just isn't that fulfilling. And I just had a client come on board, I think it was like 6 weeks ago. And she was like, Cory, I've been doing business the traditional way, and I'm tired of it. I'm bored. I'm not motivated. I want what you have. I want the magic of me in my life and my business. And so we tweaked a couple of different things. She just did a product launch, and I'm so excited because she made 10 grand before she even launched her product. And I'm like, that's the brilliance when you're willing to be you and have these tools to start asking for what you would really like to have. Okay, so how does it get better than that? Okay, all right. So today, I am going to talk about. Okay. Oh, actually, one more thing I want to just preface before about me. This isn't about me. This is all about you. But for some reason, us as beings and in these bodies and in this reality, we have to have like, well, who are you to be telling me all of this stuff? So basically, I've been using these tools for 7 years. They're the tools of access consciousness, and they freaking work. And I'll just say that. And if they're not working for somebody, it's usually because you haven't actually gotten to a key element of something that's underneath. And what's really interesting is I've had people who were using the tools and then they kind of decided that it wasn't working. And then they went and tried some other stuff. And then I stumbled upon me later. And then we uncovered something that was sort of underneath all of it. And it kind of looked like I don't fit in. I don't really work anyway. And then we cleared that. And then boom, all of a sudden, everything was working. Right. And when we have these like locked in sort of points of view from when we were really little, usually, that we can't seem to get to, and it seems like nothing's working, you just got to ask, like, did I decide I didn't fit in and this reality wasn't going to work for me, no matter how many times you try? And that's kind of another sign of a magical unicorn, is that you might have tried a lot of different things and not a lot of things have worked. Okay, so if that little thing is underneath it all, nothing's really going to work until we actually go, wait a second, what if we can actually do it your way? And your way actually works. Okay, so everything you've learned from everybody else, put that on the side and let's see what else is possible today. Okay. And hello, everybody. I got my unicorn slippers. Oh, that's awesome. I would like some unicorn slippers because it's actually winter in Australia right now and it's a little bit chilly. It's not snowing, but it's actually probably 70 degrees, or maybe 65, which isn't really cold, but it's colder because it was really hot here. Okay, so the 3 things I'm going to talk about today are, and I've got my notes, that's why I'm looking over here, because I want to make sure I hit all these. So number 1 is 7 questions to start asking today that actually work. Okay. 7 questions. Number 2 is how to align your energy with what you're asking for. Okay, so we're going to talk about each of those 7 questions and the energies of those. And then the 3 pitfalls to receiving everything you ask for. So the 3 things there's more than this, but the 3 sort of main ones that people get stuck with. Okay, so we're going to go over those. All right, so and at the very end, I'm going to share my favorite clearing that I do now every single day that helps everything show up with ease, and it helps you not be attached to what you think you want. Okay? So if you stay to the end, you will get that. All right, so the 7 questions, let's just get going. And Marianne says, wow, that question actually made my head hurt. And hi, Lynn, and hi, everybody else. And oh, we have Austria. How in the world does it get better than that? Okay. So ask and you shall receive is all about asking expansive questions that are open-ended. Okay, these are expansive questions that you're asking the universe. Okay, now when we have lots of points of view, right, like I want this and this is all I want, then you're not actually asking a question. You're saying a conclusion, I want this only, with a question mark on the end. Okay, now, so many things that I learned in my 12 years of personal growth and spirituality and metaphysics and stuff like that was to pick what you want as a definition, as the end result, and then go for that. And what I'm going to actually ask you to do is expand beyond anything that you've concluded that you would like to have, and expand into the possibility that it could show up a lot greater and more dynamic than what you can even imagine. Okay, now this is sort of like the next step beyond visualization. This is the next step beyond sort of story scripting or life scripting, which if whatever works for you, keep that, and then maybe add this to whatever, maybe the areas you would like to expand. Okay, so here are some of the questions. And these sometimes are really tricky for people to start asking because we're not actually going into the logical mind to try to figure out the answers. Because we're taught from a very young age, you need to get the answer right, right? Right? We need to get the answer right. And if we don't have the answer right, then we're failing, we're wrong, we're not going to get a good grade, we're going to look stupid and all that kind of stuff, right? So with these questions, these are so open-ended that I'm going to ask you not to come to a conclusion, but to pay attention to what just naturally shows up in your awareness. Now, your awareness is going to show up in lots of different ways. Everybody's is different, okay? Some people's just shows up and is an energy, right? Hey, were you ever a kid and you got asked a question and there was an energy there, but you didn't have words for it? So then you looked stupid because, according to them, because you didn't have an answer, but really you were aware of like all the energy that was involved? Yeah. So some people's awareness shows up like that. My awareness shows up in knowing. I just know stuff. I will know the energy and the awareness before the question is even done, and sometimes even before it's asked. Other people hear stuff. Other people see visuals. Other people kind of use their bodies, and they sense things in their bodies. So, and then there's lots more. So I wonder how your awareness shows up for you and how many ways your awareness shows up for you, because sometimes my awareness shows up through your mouth. You say something and I go, that's the energy I was looking for when I asked this question 5 days ago. Okay. Shows up in lots of different ways that the universe just goes, oh, here we go. We can deliver it to you this way. Okay. So if you're only looking for one way, you're going to miss out on all the other ways that it could show up. Okay. All right, so first question is, what is possible here? I love this question, and I ask this one all the time, especially with my clients, but also in my own life. What is possible here? So you can write that one down. What is possible here? And if anybody wants to be our scribe and put them in the chat box, you can do that too. All right, Brittany, what is possible here? Okay. Now, when you ask what is possible here and you try to come to a conclusion like this is what's possible, then you're limiting it to only that possibility instead of going, universe, show me what is possible here. Okay. Now you can ask this particular question for literally anything, right? You're looking on a menu and you're like, hey, body, what would you like to have? And you're like, what's possible here? And then your body goes, bing, that right there. Or maybe you'd like to generate some additional magic cash this week. And you're like, hey, universe, what is possible? And do you see how, like, when I say it, I go, like, I'm really curious about what is possible. What is possible? And it's this question literally to the universe, okay? What is possible? All right. You need to let go of your imagination, right? Well, the conclusions of your imagination, yes. Or that the imagination is the furthest you can perceive, yes. Because infiniteness is beyond your imagination. And lots of times your imagination is actually only going so far, whatever that is. And sometimes your imagination is is coming from reference points of your past. So it's like when we say, oh, I'd like a 5% raise, right? And then we're like, well, what's that based on? It's based on of what you're getting now, whatever your income is now. And it's 5% from that versus like, hey, how much is it possible to grow my income this year? What is possible here? Okay, you see the difference in that? The 5% is a conclusion based on what you know, and what is possible is like, hey, I wonder. We've had people ask that question, and actually one of my clients did, and her husband got a $15,000 a year raise. And then actually, now that I remember, I had another client that her husband got a $50,000 raise. How does it get better than that? Would you be willing to be that magical just by asking, hey, universe, what's possible? What's possible for me today? What is possible right now? What is possible here? What is possible? Period. Hey, universe, wake up in the morning. What is possible? And I swear I ask this question still about a few hundred times a day. Okay? And I'm not kidding. All right, question number 2 is, how does it get better than this or that? Now, this is an age-old access, well, all of these are age-old access consciousness questions, but this is one that's one of the main staples, is how does it get better than this? And when we ask this question from the space of something's wrong, so how does it get better? Like, oh, this really is terrible. How does it get better than this? You're not really asking a question because you're still judging the situation as terrible. Okay. What you want to do is ask for everything. Well, that's possible. Cool. Thank you very much, universe. How does it get better? How does it get better? If I can have that, how does it get better than that? And that literally is your cue to the universe to say, hey, I'll have more. I'll have better. Cool. What's greater than this? And the universe is like, oh, okay, you'll have more. Here's more. Right? Here's better. Here's something else. Here's something else, right? And it literally, the universe will deliver on that. How does it get better than this? Okay, now I know a lot of you guys have heard that one before. And what would it be like if you were willing to just continue to have greater and more and better all the time? How does it get better than that? This will go from melting traffic to everything else. Yeah, it can totally melt traffic. Somebody posted in the questions to this, after you guys registered for this, there was questions that I asked, and somebody was saying in there that when they asked, they started asking for how does it get better during sex with their partner, and they were like, whoa, it actually got better. It was like, yeah, when you ask, you shall receive. And that's the other part of it, right? This is the receiving part. Okay, cool. So question number 3 is, and this one I ask every single morning. And every time I go and like I asked this right before we started this live stream, is what contribution can I be and receive here? What contribution can I be and receive here? Okay, what contribution can I be and receive here? Now, this isn't about doing, for all of you doers out there, this isn't about doing more, giving more. It's about gifting and receiving at the same time. When you're gifting and receiving at the same time, you're gifting and receiving from the universe. You're gifting and receiving to and from the planet. We've got this gorgeous, humongous tree out there. And every day I'm like, wow, like what contribution can I be that tree? And what contribution can that tree be to me? Now that sounds so silly, but we are of the earth, right? I've got the ocean right there, all these trees right there, and then that magnificent tree right there, and all these birds and butterflies that fly around my veranda out there. And I'm always asking, like, what contribution can I be and receive? So what can I gift and what can I receive? That's not even cognitive. It's all like energetic, okay? And what would your life be like if you were willing to receive from everything? Wow. So that's like a big one for a lot of people, is where we've shut down our receiving based on either our unawareness or based on our judgments, right? So it's like, if you look at your life, how many people won't you receive from? Yeah, all of those. Yeah. Let's see here. So Marion says she has a question. And Karen has a question too. Yeah, post your questions in the chat here. That would be great. Yep, what contribution can you be and receive? Okay, so that one you can ask for everything, everyone, your job, your work, your clients, your whatever you got going on. What contribution can you be and receive from your body? Okay, this is like, I wonder. And remember, this isn't about the doing, it's about the being, and there might be an action to take. So you might ask your garden, what contribution can I be and receive? And it says, I'd like some water, please. And so you go water your garden. That's awareness. Plants are talking to you. They want some water. They're thirsty. Okay, so now the next one, number 1, 2, 3, 4, is, I love this one. Actually, I love them all. I will say that about everything I talk about because that's just what I fill my life up with. What question can I ask now? What question can I ask now? Yes, what question can I ask now? What you're doing is you're asking the universe, hey, universe, what question can I ask now that has something show up for me, right? That is something is ready to actualize. Okay, now the universe is like dangling. It's like a pear tree. You know what a pear is like? Super, super juicy and delicious, and you put it in your mouth and you're like having mouthgasms because it's so delicious. There's the tree of the universe out there, and it's got all of these ripe pears on the tree. And if you're willing to go, hey, which pear can I choose today? And you go, ooh, this one. And it like turns your body on so much. You're having these mouth gasms. Everything's dripping down your face, right? And you're like, whoa, that was amazing. You can actually ask the universe for what's ready to pop, to actualize, for you to receive right now. What question can I ask right now to instantly actualize something, anything? Or just what question can I ask now? Yeah. So how in the world is it get better than that? So what question can I ask now? I love that one. And the universe has a whole bunch of questions if you're willing to ask. And sometimes they're totally random, and sometimes they're the question that if you were to ask it would literally change everything. Because you start to get the awarenesses of everything else that you're asking to create. Okay, so Marion has a question here. Brittany says, that's a good one, especially when I feel stuck. Yeah. Okay, so Marion says, I've discovered that the gift of potentializing other people's abilities. I was telling a friend about it today, I'm wondering how to find my own magic and more magic. She said that I aided other people receiving automatically there. Might that be what you mean by contribution? Well, contribution is gifting and receiving at the same time. So the question is, are you receiving, or what are you receiving when you are contributing to people? Or are you just giving? Are you actually receiving at the same time? That would be my question. And then I would just say, what would it take for receiving for everything that I give? That'd be a great question too. Okay, so number 5 is what energy, space, and consciousness can I be to receive more than I can imagine right now? Are you willing to actually have your mind blown so you can receive more than you can imagine? Now, this is where, again, we're going beyond visualization. We're going beyond anything you can imagine. And we're actually asking the universe to provide us something that's so outside our reality that it changes our reality. Right? I've received so many things. Even moving to Australia was one of those things for me, where I shoved it out of my universe to even come to Australia, even though I wanted to come since I was 17. And it was too far and too much. And I had all these reasons why not. And none of them were mine, by the way. And then a few years ago, I was like, no, I'm going to go to Australia. I'm going to choose this. And after I was here, it's like, I want to come back. Like, this is amazing. And then I came back last September and I was like, wow, what would it be like to actually be here more? And then 8 weeks later, I'm actually moving here. I packed up my stuff. Literally everything happened like as if by magic. My lease on my 2 more years on the lease on my car. Literally somebody offered to take it and pay for the lease within 24 hours or 48 hours of me asking. My dog is being totally taken care of until I can get him imported over. And that all happened within like 24 hours. My house got all packed up and moved. I found somebody to do all of that. And like every single thing that I asked for was like, yes, 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 yes. And that's the magic of when you're asking these questions and you're receiving your awarenesses on them. You can literally hop, skip, and a jump to creating a life that's so much easier than what we're taught. Okay. And that's the part of the magic of the ask. Okay. All right. Yes. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be to receive more than I can imagine right now? Okay. So what energy, space, and consciousness? We are energy, space, and consciousness. That's all we are. Okay. Matter, time actually don't exist. Those are creations. We are energy, we are space, and we are consciousness. And every single time you ask, what energy, space, and consciousness can I be? Your energy, your space, and your consciousness goes, what? What do you want us to be? Okay, done. And you go into that energy immediately. And if you've ever actually paid attention when you ask those questions, your energy will shift like that if you're actually asking the question. Okay, now what's really cool about this is that the universal language, the language to the universe, is energy. And you are energy, space, and consciousness. So that's actually one of the pitfalls we're going to talk about in a minute. So I'll leave that dangling for right now. Okay, so we'll leave that one for just a few minutes. So Karen is asking, how do you know when to just ask the question and when to add the POC and POD? So POC and POD is the clearing statement with access consciousness. It's point of creation and point of destruction. And we talk a lot about that in all the classes I do. And how do you know the difference of when to clear an energy and when to actually ask a generative question? Is if you ask a generative question and you feel a bunch of stuff coming up in your space and you got some other energies in there, then that's when you want to clear those energies, because those other heavier energies aren't yours. Heaviness is always a lie, every single time. Not one time is it not a message to you showing you that that's actually heavy for you. It's a lie for you. The lightness, the spacious, this expansion is the truth for you. The heaviness, the contraction. So if you're making a choice, go left down this street or go right down this street. Right is heavy. Left is like, ooh, go left. That's where you go from that skipping to the ease to creating really, really fast. The more you can choose the lightness, the more with more velocity, things will show up for you from the universe. Yeah, and you can clear anything at any time too. But if you have any resistance to anything, you can clear that too. All right, question number 6. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be to have everything I ask for show up as if by magic? All right. So what energy, space, and consciousness can I be to have everything I ask for show up as if by magic, baby, by magic? Now, okay, I got some pitfalls. I'm going to save the pitfalls for later. But this one is by magic. What we're talking about is magic is the space of that you don't know the how. You don't know how that showed up. It just did. And you're going to say yes to it because you just asked for it. Now, in this reality, I call this reality is the reality that we're raised in, is the polarized reality. It's the be good and right and avoid being bad and wrong and try to fit in and do whatever you can to be like everybody else and stop being you to not make anybody else uncomfortable. That's this reality. Okay. But if you're a unicorn, you're like, don't fit into this reality. This reality doesn't make sense to you. We're wondering why certain things are happening on the planet because it just is like, I don't get how that's even a choice out there in the world. That's how I grew up thinking, how is this even possible that this is the way it is? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're like that and you're like, this reality is pretty messed up. Like, how did I end up here? You might be a unicorn. Okay. So, what energy, space, and consciousness can I have everything have for ask? What energy, space, and consciousness can I be? To have everything I ask for show up as if by magic. Is that space in which we're actually working with the universe to where the universe just rearranges for you. You're not on a linear path. You're on a chaotic path. The chaos is consciousness. Chaos is actually where the magic happens. Because that's where, have you ever noticed those things that show up and you're like, whoa. The first time I actually remember this showing up when I started asking these questions, well, there's two things. One was I was like, all right, so I was hungry and I was broke. I had like no money, but my body was like, sushi, sushi, sushi. I was like, I can't afford sushi. I can really just afford that, tortilla with cheese in the fridge. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to ask. We'll see if anything shows up. So I said, what would it take for somebody to take me to sushi tonight? Lo and behold, 30 minutes later, my friend texts me, hey, you want to go to dinner? I said, yes. And he says, what do you want? I said, sushi. So an hour later, we were having sushi. And I was like, wow. I actually asked that question from no point of view, just because it was fun to ask. And then that's what showed up. I was like, Magic. I didn't call him. I didn't go out and ask a bunch of people. Like, he approached me and then we were having sushi. So that's the magic. I don't know how that happened. It just did. Okay. So when we're asking for that kind of stuff, we're not actually asking to not take any actions. We're not asking to, ignore other things. We're just asking, hey, what would it take for more stuff to just show up for me? Okay. And how fun would that be? How freaking fun would that be? The other thing that used to show up for me, I don't know if you guys have this too, but parking karma. I had rock star parking, and I still do. And I just never had any significance about it. I just had it like, of course I'm going to get a parking spot here. That's just how it was for me. So it was awesome. But I didn't ever realize that how to do it. I didn't ever realize that it was my energy that was, we just have parking spots. That's just how my reality was. And when I started asking for more than parking karma in my life, because that was like the only magic that I seemed to be able to have at that time, it was like 7-8 years ago, I was like, well, wait a second. If I got parking karma and these parking spots magically show up for me, then what else is actually possible? And I asked for the magic. And this is what showed up 7 years later. I travel the world. I get to facilitate magic. Like, definitely don't ask for what you would like. It won't show up. Not for you guys, just for me. Just kidding. Totally just kidding. Which is the cool thing, because this actually works for everyone. That actually works for everyone. All you have to do is ask. All you have to do is start with asking. Okay. All right, so the last question on here is, what action? This one's important. What action can I take today to create my crazy possible reality right away? Now, first of all, crazy possible is possible that you've blocked out of your universe. You said, I can't do it. I'm not going to whatever. I don't have the money for it. I'm not skinny enough for it. I don't have whatever. I have kids. I hear that one a lot. Cory, I have kids. Well, it doesn't mean you can't ask. The universe will show you all sorts of miraculous ways to have things show up if you're willing to just ask. So what action can I take to create my crazy possible reality right away? Now, this is all about action, not do unconsciously because we think we have to be busy and doing, but asking intentionally, hey, what action can I take? Now, those actions sometimes are pragmatic and they make sense to you, and sometimes they're totally chaotic and they make no sense to you. So me moving to Australia really made no sense in life. I had a lot of stuff. I had built a beautiful house, or not built, but put together a beautiful house. I had this gorgeous view. I had a hot tub. I had my puppy. I had, like I was living in San Diego. I had everything. But there was something else calling me to Australia. So it didn't make sense that my life was really going to expand even more in Australia, but it has. It totally has, since I've made that choice. So if you're willing to make the crazy choices, the universe will catalyze things for you in all sorts of miraculous ways. Okay? What action can I take today to create my crazy possible reality right away? And that's where it's beyond your imagination. Okay? All right. Whew. So those are the 7 questions. All right. So now let's talk about the pitfalls. Everybody take a breath, take a drink. This is an intense training. You have to be serious. Just kidding. All you have to do is start asking, really. Okay, so pitfall number 1. If you're not receiving what you're asking for, then you are either attached to something, not following your awarenesses, or actually not resonant with receiving it. Like you have some point of view that it can't show up for you, okay? So we're just going to talk about being attached first, okay? So you have an attachment to a particular outcome. Now, these outcomes are everywhere. So if you have the attachment even to the outcome that you have kids, so you can't have extra money to XYZ, then you won't, Okay. So every conclusion you have about anything is an attachment to that particular result. Okay. That particular outcome. Now, when you have no attachment, and this was very hard for me because I was the queen, probably better than any of you, at conclusions. Okay. I was the queen at, had trained my mind to find the right answer everywhere. Okay. And becoming unattached to things and really just asking because I was asking was very hard for me. But I had to train myself. And how I did that was I asked about 500 questions a day. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And I still, like I said, I still ask a lot of questions every day. I don't know if it's 500, but it's a lot. So I intentionally wrote a list of questions that I asked every single day, and I would put on my phone little alarms that went off about every hour that said ask a question, and then I would put all these different questions throughout the day because I had to train myself, my thick skull, on how to actually ask questions. Okay. Now, this was my own intense training for myself. And I was an athlete, so I played softball in college and I played all these different sports when I was a kid. So I was always in training and always practicing. And I knew that if I wanted to change this, and it was, like I said, it was very hard for me. If I wanted to change this, I had to practice it. I had to set myself up to implement and support myself over a period of time. Because you don't just get good at something that you're not naturally good at. Okay. Like if you've trained yourself out of it, asking questions, then you've got to retrain yourself to what you would like to have. Okay. Now, and that's one of the things where I get really rigorous, especially in the higher level coaching that I do in my higher level programs, of what are you actually choosing? Are you choosing to actually train yourself in the areas that you are not quite as good at right now? Or are you just willing to haphazardly like hope that it works? Because if you're hoping and wishing and dreaming about it working, it's likely not going to work. You're going to get 5% change, but it's not all you want. Yeah. First pitfall is being attached. Okay. So let's see. I'll share with you about my friend Jane. She's actually a client. And she was, in her life, she was kind of being a victim. Now, she wouldn't have ever said that because, nobody ever says, oh, I'm just being a victim right now. Everybody else can see it usually. And then you're like, oh, I'm actually just being a victim. So she was at the effect of everyone else's choices. Okay, so anybody that chose anything that seemed like it was against her, it would affect her in ways where her money flows were diminished and she wasn't being her and like all of these different things, right? So where her life got to the point where it was like teeny, 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 tiny, shrunk her life down into this teeny, tiny life. And she was asking tons and tons of questions, but they weren't really giving her the awarenesses or creating what she wanted, what she thought was possible. And so when we worked with her, we were looking at, it's like, well, what are you actually attached to? And she found this sneaky little attachment that was, she was really attached to the fact that other people were going to judge her. Like she was like, so no matter what she did, she was holding on to this thing that was like, yeah, I don't want people to judge me. So the only things that she could choose or only energies she could be were those ones she had decided that people weren't going to judge her for. So that left this tiny, 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 tiny little girl that like couldn't actually just be. So we actually just cleared that out of the way. And we're clearing out the not willing to be judged. And all of a sudden, she's feeling like her. She's laughing again. She's vibrant. Her skin is changing. And things are starting to show up as if by magic again. Because when we're not using that heaviness of those attachments, like, oh, I think I want this, or I'm attached to not being judged, or whatever it is, or no, really, I don't fit in here. Well, none of you do. None of you fit in. Guess what? You're not the only one. There's lots of us, a lot of us that don't fit in here. So what if we aren't making that the excuse anymore and actually start to go, well, wait a second, did you actually come to fit in? Or did you come to create something totally different for your life and for yourself? Right? Like, that's like, whew, coming to fit in. Oh, I don't fit in. People don't like me. Who cares? Really? Right? It seems so significant. But if you let go of that attachment, what is actually possible? There's that question again. If you let go of the attachment, what is possible? You gotta, oh, I can relate to the judgment. Wow, thanks for sharing that. I can totally relate. I'm on this training for this. Yeah. Those judgments from other people, fitting in, all that shite is the only thing you can do with that, if you're making that real and you're attached to that being real, is make yourself small. That's the only thing you can do. I mean, for heaven's sake, I talk about unicorns, and people love it because it reads for people. People like feel like they, like you guys are saying it right now. Like I get it. Like, yes. What's funny too about unicorns is that if you look at the mythology of unicorns, and stuff like that, is they were magical and amazing and all this stuff, right? And then hidden. So it's like, how many of you guys have been hiding yourselves and using this excuse of not wanting to be judged versus just coming out in the sparkles and the magic and the rainbows that you truly are, that actually light up the world. Okay? Light up the world. And that's where your crazy possible reality is. It's possible, but because we're hiding and attached to stuff, it's not possible. So it's crazy. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be that. I actually had a client sign up recently that said, the reason I'm signing up with you is because you wore a unicorn horn on your live stream. And I was like, really? She's like, I want that. I'll have that. I don't feel like I can be me in my business. And you are. I want that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's have it. What else is possible? Melissa's saying, that gives me chills down my spine. Great thing about not fitting in, you belong everywhere, every time. That made me smile. Okay, awesome. How does it get better than that? Thanks for being on, you guys. Okay, so let's move on. The second pitfall is having a point of view about how it shows up. Okay, if you have a point of view of, this is how I want my man to be when he shows up, is this and this and this and this and this, it's not going to show up that way. So guess what? If you think it should show up that way, you're doing this, and it's going to show up right over here, and you're going to totally miss it. And you're not going to receive what you actually asked for. That's showing up totally differently. Now, I'll tell you this. A friend of mine is looking for a roommate, and she was like, here's what I want. And she listed off all these qualities and all these things they had to have, and blah, 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 blah. And it had to be a woman, and it had to, like this laundry list. And I look at the list and it's like, that's nobody. Like, she created the list so nobody would show up. Okay? So there's a lot of people that actually might be a great roommate for her, but because she had these conclusions of how this roommate would show up, she completely excluded everything from showing up. Okay? So how many places are you guys doing that? And what would it be like if you had less conclusions about how it shows up and allowed the universe to show up in miraculous, amazing, phenomenal ways? Okay? I found my guy, my Aussie guy, and he showed up totally different than I thought. And I was asking for these like expansive energies, like adventurous and a contribution and fun and kind and generative. Like, I feel better after being with him. And I meet him here, and I'm like, wow, you so did not show up the way I thought that it might. But I really didn't have any points of view about it. But it showed up in a way that I was like, well, there it is. How does it get better than that? And what else is possible now? Cool. Yeah. Okay. So when you don't have points of view about how it shows up, then you can allow the universe infinite ways for it to show up. Okay. All right. Alrighty. Okay, so the last pitfall. Yeah, Joe. Uh, you said I asked for that too. I did not even see him when he finally showed up. Yeah, yeah. How does it get better than that? It's so amazing when you just allow the universe to deliver. Yeah, it even happens like when you order at a restaurant sometimes, where you order something and then something else shows up, or it shows up differently, and you don't like throw a fit about it, you or complain or return it, and you just eat it anyway, and it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is your body was like, hey, I want this, but you think I want this, and I'm just going to bring this anyway. And so it shows up differently than you think. Like it just everything shows up differently than I think it's going to happen. So you just got to pay attention. Okay, so pitfall number 3 is not taking action. So this is the one I was talking about before. Oh, also says, now we're married. Susan says, you're so awesome. So are you. Oh, Marion says, I had him in front of me for 8 years before I realized it. Yeah, we're so cute, aren't we? Okay, so not taking action. So this is the the one we were talking about before. So when you're aware, you ask a question, and your awareness is like flooding in with all of this stuff. And if you're like, no, that's not my awareness. That can't be my awareness. That's not what it's supposed to look like. If you do that, you're never going to take any action. And it's just all going to be like falling down at your feet. But you're never going to look down. Okay? It's like having $100 bills all around the ground. And you're like, I don't have any money. You're like, it's all on the ground. Are you going to bend over and pick it up? No, I don't bend over. It's gotta fall into my mouth, right? Like we have these like silly ways that we think that things are supposed to happen, but really, if we just look at what action can I take and then do it. Now, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and they said, I keep getting these actions, then I just am not doing it. Like, yeah. So, what is that? Would you really like to receive what you're asking for? Or are you attached to being wrong, it not working for you, not being magic, proving that everything is not going to work for you, right? Because those are kind of some of the things that person was choosing. And she's like, whoa. She's like, you caught me. I'm like, I know, I'm a lie detector. I have a superpower that catches people's lies. Now, not in a bad way necessarily, but sometimes I catch people doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. But mostly it's these sneaky little lies that we tell ourselves that you don't even know that you're lying to yourself about. And she was like, whoa, that is so incongruent. So I said, great. So what action can you take now? In the next 5 minutes, what action can you take now that is congruent with receiving what you asked for? So she literally like took an action. I can't remember what it was. And she's like, Cory, it all shifted. The energy shifted. Some stuff showed up that I had been wanting to have for a while. And she's like, holy cow. And what her main thing is that she didn't work. And when we decide we don't fit in, and then we try to fit in and it doesn't work, the only thing you can come to a conclusion of is that you don't work. Because you've tried, and you've tried everything, and you've read every book, and you've tried every modality, and you keep going, and it still doesn't work, right? Or maybe it works for a little while or a little bit, but not fully in the way that you know is possible for you. If that's you, my friend, I got something for you. Yeah, understanding what is heavy and light. So I didn't get it. Yeah, that one, it takes training, you guys. This isn't like you're going to read a little PDF and watch this video and you're just going to magically get it. It doesn't work like that. You've trained yourself out of your awareness. This reality has trained you out of your awareness for your whole entire life and other lifetimes too. And so regaining the magic that you be is a process. And sometimes you have these, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And then you sort of choose heavy again, and then you choose light, and then you choose heavy, and then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, choosing light. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. So we need what you have. Yeah, you need to ask some questions. You need some more tools. Okay, cool. So this pitfall of not taking action is essential. If you think that you're just going to ask a question, it's going to fall in your lap, you're going to receive a small percentage of what's possible. Sometimes it looks like you're freaking working a lot to create what you'd like to have. Sometimes it takes a lot of actions. Sometimes you have to learn new things. Like I learn new things all the time in my business to actually create what I'd like to have, right? Sometimes you just got to bend over and pick something up. Sometimes you got to, do something different. So the universe is always showing you what actions to take, because when you take this action that connects with this thing right here, it opens a whole new set of possibilities. Every action you take. And if that one thing that you know that's been going around in your awareness for a while, you haven't done because, blah, 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 excuse, reason, why, not, yeah, but, then if you let that dominate, you can't have the next doorway to possibilities. You can't have the next set of possibilities until you take that action. It's one literally action at a time. Opens up a whole new universe, action, whole new universe, action, whole new universe. Every single one of your choices, every single one of your actions is creating a whole new set of possibilities every single time. And most of the time it doesn't show up how you think it will. It doesn't. Okay? And a lot of us need reminders of that. I needed it for years, somebody to continually remind me it doesn't show up like you think it will. And I'm like, that's right. That's right. It doesn't. So what else is possible? Okay, I'm reading your guys' comments right now. I'm beginning to detest the words but and because they fly out my mouth. Yeah, you might want to do that. You might want to start asking a question like, what else is possible here? Eventually, the awareness will punch me in the face. It does. It gets louder. It starts as whispers, and then it gets louder and louder and louder and louder until you get bopped over the head. And then here's the thing. I had a client a few years ago who was like, I'm desperate. I'm losing my house. And a lot of times people schedule a session in a desperate time. She's like, I'm about to lose my house. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So what are you choosing that created this? And what we got down to was that in the moment she wanted to create a miracle and she needed $50,000 like overnight. She's like, what's it going to take to have $50,000 overnight? And I was like, well, that's a great question to ask. Ask that. What is possible? But what you really want to look at is the source of the issue, the source of this creation, which is you're ignoring your awareness, you weren't willing to take actions, and you weren't willing to actually ask for what you would like. What we do is we push it behind us. We don't want to look at it. And then when it's a freaking problem, when there's a tumor in our brain or when there's a house that's going to be repossessed, then we're willing to look at it. And when you get to the point where you're willing to look at everything in the moment before it becomes a problem, that's where the ease is. That's where that magic, that's where that pop, 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 pop thing is. Okay? But when you're shoving stuff behind you, don't want to see it, don't want to acknowledge it, it literally will get louder and louder and louder until it becomes a problem. And sometimes you can change the problem, and sometimes you really just have to start being conscious and aware of what you are choosing, what actions you are or aren't taking. Okay? So I know that's the strong talk, but it's true. It's true for every single one of my clients, and I've worked with thousands of people around the world, whether it was for a short amount of times in classes or in my year-long program of the VIP stuff. Same thing for everybody. It's exactly the same for everybody. We just have a little bit different way of messing ourselves up with it. That's where the lie detector comes in really handy, because I don't buy your stories. Your stories are useless to me. They're not worth anything. But your awareness is worth a lot. Your magic is worth a lot. Awesome, Sharon. I answered your question before you even asked. Okay, so beautiful unicorns. That is the training for today. Those are the 3 points I was going to deliver on. We did it. Now, what I want to talk about, if you're interested in staying on, I will at the very end give you, this is my tease. This is my what do they call it? I'm gonna bribe you to stay on if you'd like, and if you don't want to stay on, you don't have to. But I'm gonna give you the question I asked that changes freaking anything, and I'm gonna talk next about how to actually implement this stuff. So I've been talking a little bit about it, but I'm gonna talk about what it actually takes to implement all of this and so much more in your life. So if the third pitfall was not taking action. Okay, so let's see here. The question is, so if you're gonna jump off, I so freaking adore you. Thank you for being. What else is crazy possible? I look forward to playing with you in lots of different ways, and go freaking be magical. If you want to hear about the implementation of it, that's what we're talking about next, and how to actually exponentialize the ask and receive in your life. That's what we're talking about next. Okay, so how do you stay in the question? We've been talking about this. How do you remember to follow your awareness? And how do you stop blocking possibilities? That's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, cool. Is everybody cool with that? I'm assuming if you're staying on, you are cool with that. Okay, cool. So I've kind of been talking about this the last few minutes anyway, of this level of rigor, this level of consistency with yourself. Now, a lot of times unicorns don't like consistency. I don't have a routine. I don't do the same thing every day. I love variety. I love not having a routine. And there's a level of consistency in a few things that I noticed that people who have a lot of success with Ask and You Shall Receive do. And one of them is, I'm going to list them. One of them is they ask a lot of questions. So many that they start to be the question, because they're always in that curious space. Okay. Now, how do you get to asking so many questions and getting so proficient with it? You surround yourself with other people who are asking questions. Okay. Like I said, I've worked with thousands, literally now over the last 7 years, thousands of people around the globe. And some people, they don't have anybody in their life that is remotely magical or interested in Ask and You Shall Receive at all. And if they are only trying to do it on their own, they go really, really, really slow. Okay. And I've had other people who are in like a remote area and they get involved with a group of people. We'll call it the blessing of unicorns, because a blessing is a group of unicorns. And they actually have that acknowledgement, a place to post and ask questions and share and continually get expansive possibilities, right? Clearings and all sorts of stuff and all different topics. And those people tend to, number one, start to surround themselves with more people in their physical area that are interested in the magic, but also their lives have a trajectory of faster and more dynamically creating the life that they would like to have, versus the people who don't have anybody in their life that has it. Okay. Now, when you get involved with other people, it's like there's this old saying that, well, statistic, or I don't even know where it came from, but is that, sorry, I was reading your questions and trying to think at the same time, that when you surround yourself with the 5 people that you want, actually, they say it 2 ways. They say they, whoever they is. You can see where your income is by the 5 people that you spend the most time with. It's probably the average of that, generally speaking. It's also the same for the way of being. So if you're surrounded with a lot of negative people who don't believe in possibility, who aren't interested, who just want to tell you what to do, then that's where your energy is going to be. But if you surround yourself with people who are contributive, who are generative, who are willing to contribute to you, who are, and you're willing to contribute to them, your energy changes. Okay. And that's just how it works. To do it all by yourself is a lot harder than if you have people around you that are in that same space. Okay. And I had learned this a long time ago, which was when I tried to do things on my own, I slip really easily into all my old programming. But when I'm around other people, I start to become more aware of what I'm saying, more aware of questions I'm asking, more aware of what I'm choosing. And it's like this really awesome contribution that we all have together of like, wait a second, how awesome is this that all of our lives are expanding and in ways that each is unique to each one of us. Okay, yeah, so Karen says, so guess I better start asking for generative relationships. None of that in my life at the moment. Exactly. And lots of people don't have them. So you're not the only one. There's lots of people who don't have people in their lives that are a contribution or generative or kind. We just did this class called 21 Days to Having a Reality. And there's so many people in that class who are just like, I don't have anybody that's kind in my life. Right? I don't have anybody that doesn't judge me. And what would it be like to have people that were kind in your life and people who don't judge you? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'm going to show you how you can have that and so much more. Okay. So staying in the question, remembering to follow your awareness and stop blocking possibilities. Okay. So staying in the question, surrounding yourself by people, remembering to follow your awareness is really twofold. Practicing the tools and being in this conversation as often as you can. Okay, and being around, like I said, people who are having this conversation or a class or whatever. Okay, and then stop blocking possibilities. One of the greatest ways we block possibilities is because we have these energetic patterns that have us circling around in circles, basically, that, or even at infinity, where we're like, oh, we're out of it. No, we're not. We're out of it. No, we're not. We're out of it, right? And when you are in those energetic patterns, it's very hard sometimes to choose something different. It's kind of like quitting smoking. Sometimes and I never had to quit smoking, but I've facilitated a lot of people. But when we clear those energies of whatever's underneath it, then new choices become available. And you're like, well, that wasn't so hard. I don't know why it took me so long to change that. Well, it was because those energetic patterns are really, really, really strong. It's like magnets. And sometimes those magnets are really strong. So breaking those magnets, that's what the clearing statement does. That's what a lot of my classes will do. Okay. So here's the thing. What is it going to take for you? What do you require in your world to be staying in the question, remembering to follow your awareness, choosing the lightness, developing yourself with those tools, and to stop blocking the possibilities, right? So here's what I did. Is I created this really cool thing called the Crazy Possible Year. And the Crazy Possible Year is basically all of that. So you get people around that you can connect with, make friends with, post in the Facebook group. We've got about over 200 people in the group that are from around the world contributing to each other in a way that is from non-judgment, from sharing tools, from sharing successes and asking questions that you can't necessarily ask in the regular world because they're going to tell you, well, if you want more money, just work harder. And you're like, no, that's heavy. What else is possible here? Right? So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you the Crazy Possible Year. All right. And I know some of you guys are already in, but